Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner Football Fans podcast. Today, we're not talking Sooner football. We're talking Sooner softball. And we got Blinkin Riley on with us to share softball stats as only he can. So sit back as we go over the field of 8 as Patty Gasso and the Sooners get ready to go for the three-peat. Sooner football fans is not associated with the University of Oklahoma, but we do have eligibility left. Boomer. Hey, Sooner football fans. This is the Sooner Football Fans podcast, and you got myself and Rob, Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry.
And by popular demand, I guess we'd say, we've had several people on Twitter respond to stuff when we talk about football, more probably on Facebook, that said, you know, you guys should be talking about softball. And, of course, the name of our podcast is Sooner Football Fans. Not that we're not Sooner fans, but, you know, football is kind of our...
We can modify that today.
Yeah.
Sooner football fans. And
yeah. So what we decided to do was, you know what? People are right. Our softball team is going for, you know, the three-peat. They just won their 7th straight Big 12 title. But, you know, not being is, you know, not that we're not big softball fans, but we're not as big a softball fans as, you know, football fans. Our knowledge is, you know, limited in what we could. So, So we thought we would call on the man with unlimited knowledge.
Yep.
And that is Blinkin Riley. Boomer Blinkin.
Boomer, guys.
So,
hey, it's good to have you back on.
Thanks for coming back on a short notice.
Thanks for having me.
But, you know, like we said, we thought it'd be a good idea to try to give credit to, obviously, I think probably the best softball program out there the last 4 years.
Four Natty Patty?
Yeah, 4 Natty Patties.
Which she hates that name, by the way.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, 3 years ago, they came in second. They weren't even, you know, they were runner-ups. They weren't
Alabama, right?
Yeah, they weren't even supposed to be there. And then they win, and then they win again. And now we're sitting here at 55-3, I think. And
some crazy number.
And a 4 seed.
What I kind of hope the football team goes in.
Yeah.
55-3, that'd be all right, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's what we need to win every game by this year.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, we asked Blinkin, you know, on short notice to join us, and we know that your stats go more than just football. You're a stat guy. You told us you love baseball stats and even softball stats. So,
oh yeah, I dig around everywhere I can get my hands on some numbers.
So what we decided to do was let's talk about our chances against the field coming up that starts on Thursday. Does it go a week? I think it does. It goes through the week. I can't remember if it's
there's a couple of games a day.
Yeah. So, but it's a big deal for the Sooners. Big deal for always a big deal for the state of Oklahoma. You know, we get national coverage down at the Hall of Fame Stadium, and it's always good to have Oklahoma, you know, there. And they have been the last, 3 years, and now we're sitting here with 4 years in a row. So
we're gonna do a bracket today, right?
Yeah, yeah. Rob's filling out a bracket.
Filling my bracket out right now. Gonna be a millionaire.
So, yeah, they don't have a 8-team giveaway thing that they do in any of the pubs around here for the softball.
Okay, then I'm gonna be 100 air.
So, but what we thought we'd do is just go through each of the teams, and obviously we're going to spend more time on our Sooners. But first off, I'm just going to run through the seeds real quick and who's seeded where, which is Oregon is seeded number 1. Number 2 is Florida. Number 3 is UCLA. Number 4 is Oklahoma. 5, Washington. 6, Florida State. 7, Georgia. And number 8 is Arizona State. Now, Blinkin, I don't know if you have a stat on this, but, you know, I've got to ask this question. With our record and everything all this year, do you think the 4 seed is kind of a slight?
Yeah, I would say it's probably a slight. You know, obviously strength of competition comes into play when you start talking about, you know, actual performance stats, but Oklahoma has the best earned run average, so ERA, which is your earned runs per 7 innings. They have the best earned run average, and they score the most runs per game. So we have the best defense and offense.
And we come at a number 4 seed.
Right. And so, I would say probably a little underseeded. But, and, like I said, people will come back with, well, who did they play? Which is a fair question.
Yeah.
But the numbers do kind of speak for themselves.
Yeah. And, just the fact that, in my opinion, it's just they're coming back for the 4th straight year to the College World Series. They're back-to-back champions, and they're the same team as they were last year, basically.
Right.
I mean,
right. Yeah,
so
seriously, it's
actually a little better.
When we won the first one, it was, well, these are almost all freshmen.
Right.
How many are they going to win? And in football, I guess we're used to, somebody goes undefeated, say Alabama, right?
Yeah.
They're just going to be number 1 until they lose. Well, softball and baseball tend to not be exactly that.
Right. You can lose a couple in a row and still be number 1,
Right. The disparity between, the top tier teams and the bottom isn't as large, right? And so everybody kind of has their favorites, their biases. But also there's 290 some Division I teams. So
softball teams?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I did not
all
know
those
that.
colleges, but yeah, they're all playing.
It's separated out a lot, because there's only 130 football teams.
Right.
Well, when you've got 290 or so, you've got a lot more competition, and so people are a little less eager to just say, to just crown someone. And I think we've seen that. We've won the last 2 championships, and we've spent the entire year, ranked 5th or 4th or whatever.
But yeah,
it's a different beast. You kind of have to take your football glasses off to look at it, because there's a lot of differences.
But yeah, we have the National Player of the Year, the National Freshman of the Year, the National Pitcher of the Year. Is there any other National Players of the Year?
The number 1 draft pick,
number 1, number 8.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think I
think we're being slighted a little bit.
Yeah, and which it's probably a good thing. They walk in with a little bit of attitude. Hey, we're 2-time defending champions. Do you want to put us 4th in the bracket? Let's go.
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely. if that's how these kids respond, then a lot of athletes do.
Yeah,
kind of a little disrespect goes a long way for motivation.
Yeah, they need maybe get Baker down here to give them a pep talk about being the underdog.
Honestly, I think the best 4 teams in the tournament are in our bracket.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, Oregon, Arizona State, and Washington, I think, are the top 4 teams in the country. I know Florida's pretty good, but I think Arizona State has the best pitcher in the nation. Right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that's what they say. Well, and let's just run through the bracket first off, and then we'll go through the seeds and by each team. We got on the top side of the bracket, I'll call it, the number 1 Oregon will be playing Arizona State on Thursday at 11 a.m. And then Oklahoma is number 4 and taking on Washington, which is number 5, will be the 1:30 game on Thursday.
It's going to be nice and warm for that game.
Oh, yeah. And then Florida, the number 2 seed, is taking on number 7 Georgia at 6 p.m. And then UCLA, number 3 UCLA, and number 6 Florida State at 8:30 p.m. So
all 4 games on Thursday,
right? And then they'll just kind of go from there. But it looks like it's going to be a great tournament. I mean, from everything I've seen, been watching the reports the last several days, is that this is who pretty much everybody expected to be in the final 8. So, but let's
yeah, and that's kind of a cool thing is you don't see that too often. Everybody likes to root for an underdog,
right,
winning their way through the championship. But if you do get all those favorites,
right,
in the very end, that makes for some really, really good competition.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And last year's the finals was it was the finals, one of the first game when they went into 13 or 14 innings, the Sooners in Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the best softball / baseball, football, whatever game you wanted to see last year. That was a great
Absolutely.
game. That was
yeah,
phenomenal.
that was wild.
But well, let's get into the teams here, and let's see what Blinkin has pulled out of the books for us on the Arizona State Sun Devils.
All right, Arizona State. So they're the last seeded team. Arizona State has lost 11 games this season, which there's a couple of teams in the bracket still that have lost 11 games. But if you were to give opponents this season 2 runs for every time they score, Oklahoma would still only have 9 losses.
So if we started off every game with a 2-point, giving them a 2-point cushion, we'd have had 9 losses.
No. I'm saying every time someone scored against Oklahoma, you gave them 2 runs instead of 1.
Holy crap!
That's a little better.
Oh, so if we let them play basketball to our softball, we would still have only lost 9 games.
9 games, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's because we run ruled more than half of them, I think, didn't we? And shut out, big portion of them.
But that's a great stat. So if we let every run scored on us was 2, we would have less losses than Arizona State.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Well, both the pages, I think both of them are under 1 ERA.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think one's at I think they're both just under 0.9. I think one's at 0.84 and one's at 0.86.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is.
And I guess
It's nasty.
they're saying Arizona State has the best pitcher.
We'll see about that.
G. Juarez, but we'll see. But
Let him keep
well, I mean, we have the best pitching staff. So,
yeah, that's true.
Well, I say pitching staff. ERA is kind of a tricky statistic. Not all of it is attributable to the pitcher. Some of that is on the defense,
right?
Which ours is very good.
Yeah,
we basically the best in the nation.
We actually lead the nation in fielding percentage.
Yeah.
So
I think it was the Tulsa game we in the regionals that we didn't let a ball get out of the infield. There was no ball hit out of the infield. That's ridiculous. So
that is amazing.
All right, and then we got number 7, Georgia Bulldogs. What do we got on our nemesis from the Rose Bowl?
Well, we just mentioned fielding percentage and how Oklahoma has the best in the country. Georgia has a fielding percentage of what was it? Well, anyway, Oklahoma could play 100 at the rate that Oklahoma commits errors. Oklahoma could play 100 more softball games and still not have committed as many errors as Georgia has this season.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Okay, so first, we're going to go ahead and mark these off that if we play these games, according to this stat, we should just win.
Well, yeah, I mean that's half of what this stuff is for. It's for Sooner fans to have ammunition if they run across any of these fan bases. Right?
So, all of you guys out there listening, get your pens out and start writing this stuff down. So when, Thursday you're sitting around the Georgia fans or
no, here's the tip. If you see any Georgia fans, don't say anything because all they're going to do is go Rose Bowl. And then you got to kill them. You got to kill them at that point. So, you don't want to spend the rest of your life in prison.
Yeah, but,
or is that just me? I don't know.
Yeah.
And you know the worst part about them bringing up the football game is that it'll work.
Yeah.
I promise you, if I see any Georgia fans, I will not say anything.
And it's bad to say. Is not only will it work, it's right. You know what I mean? That's
Terry.
That's the worst part of it. I mean, there's no pun intended, no defense. Ha ha ha. Oh, sorry.
I'm sure that wasn't. Did it sound intended to you, Blinkin? That sounded intentional.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it was a little intentional.
You're going to go to the penalty box.
Okay. So now we got number 6, Florida State. What do we got on Florida State?
Well, Florida State, Oklahoma has lost 3 games this season. You had mentioned earlier we're 55-3. Florida State has lost 3 games this last month. So
they're on a roll.
Yeah, they're a little more familiar with it than we are.
So, yeah, I mean, and that's odd because usually the teams in this time of the year are moving upwards.
Peaking.
Yeah, peaking.
Absolutely. And a lot of this is tournament play. And so, a loss is a lot more devastating than it is in, here in this last month than it would be in, February.
Yeah, you lose, the last week or the last 2 weeks, you're, fighting out of a barrel, And once you lose one, you're in trouble.
Right.
So
they're going to drop that first game to UCLA, I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Okay, what about number 5, Washington? Or excuse me,
Washington.
Excuse me. Let's go to Schnellenberger's term, Washington.
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 The Huskies. What do we got on Washington?
Okay. Well, how about the fact that our own freshman Jocelyn Allo averages 0.48 home runs per game, so almost a home run at every other game.
Right.
Washington's top 2 home run hitters combined for 0.46. So our freshman's outpacing their best 2 sluggers.
Well, she's outpacing just about everybody. That girl.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm trying to think of what game.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think it was not the Super Regional, the Arkansas, but the Missouri game when she popped that one out. I mean, out of the park, not just over the fence. It was out of this, facility. Good Lord. I mean,
so out of the regular fence, it's not that big. I mean, I say not that big a deal. I doubt I could do it, but
she can put a bat on a ball.
But to hit it out of the whole park is actually a pretty good bomb. So
yeah, because she put it over the bleachers and the fence behind it, and
well over.
Yeah, that girl's amazing.
So they get their first loss against Oklahoma. So if anybody's writing these down out there, and everybody, you want to be a 100-air just like me, you can bet these. I'm sure.
Yeah, because we're gonna let Rob reveal his bracket at the end of everything of who he.
Oh. Okay, got some upsets.
Yeah, and then we got number 4 Oklahoma. We're obviously going to save our Sooners for last. So next up is number 3 UCLA.
All right, UCLA. I had mentioned that Oklahoma has the best ERA in the nation. But in our next game, if Oklahoma came out and gave up 25 home runs in a row, they would still have a better ERA than UCLA.
Man.
See, and that's the thing I love about your stats, man. I start laughing before you're halfway finished with it. I mean, when a statement comes out, if OU gives up 25 home runs in a row, it's.
I think they should read these on the air. You should email these to whoever's the commentators. This is good stuff right here.
Yeah, we need to shoot this over to ESPN and let them throw some of these out at everybody. Yeah, that's again, man. That's what I love about your stick because before I'm even done reading them on Twitter or before you're finished saying
already
them
laughing.
Here, we're already laughing because
and then I'm texting like my son, hey,
guess what?
He's like, I follow Blinkin too, Dad. I'm like, oh, okay, excuse.
Okay, so that's a good stat to have. So we can still, not that we want to give up 25 in a row, but,
right? I mean, that wouldn't be ideal.
Yeah, but it wouldn't hurt our season stats. It might hurt a game stat, but it won't hurt our season stats. So
right.
So
right.
Okay, so we got then number 2, the Florida Gators.
All right, the Florida Gators. Florida. Are you guys familiar with slugging percentage? Mm-hmm. So basically, that's for anybody who doesn't know, that's basically how many bases you get per at bat. Mm-hmm. So it takes into account singles, doubles, triples, and weights them accordingly.
Right.
Florida is slugging .464 on the season, which is pretty good.
Okay.
Oklahoma could go 12 straight games without recording one base hit and still have a better slugging percentage than Florida. That's 252 up and 252 down.
Oh my God.
Jeez. And
Lois like, here, hold my beer and watch this. Oh wait, she's probably underage. Hold my Coke.
Hold my Gatorade.
Yeah, hold my Gatorade and watch it. Good, man.
Okay, and let's go to number 1, the Oregon Ducks. What do we got on?
The Oregon Ducks are tough. They're a really good team, but their coach has lost in the last. He's been coaching at Oregon for 9 years, and in those 9 years, he's lost 109 games. Patty Gasso hasn't lost 109 games in the last 12 seasons she has coached.
And she's been at it now 20. How many years?
I think this is her 24th year.
Yeah, 24th year. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
She's
in half her career, in her last half of her career, she has not lost as many games as the Oregon Ducks have in the last 9.
So I call her 490 Patty.
So basically, all you Sooner fans out there that are listening to us,
both of you,
yeah, both of you. What we can tell you is, according to these stats, we should. Be well on our way to the three-peat.
That's what my brother.
Oh yeah, at least, we at least have one reason per team.
One reason per team that
that's good enough for us.
Yeah, that's all we need.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So now, of course, we want to spend most of our time on why our Sooners are going to, take the championship or do well this week. And, before we get into your brilliant ones, I just want to, go over the ones that I researched, and they're not nearly as good as yours. They're just, so.
Oh, don't be modest.
Yeah.
Any stat is a good stat.
Yeah. Let's see. I think the most important one, the one that I think is more impressive than anything else is in the regionals and super regionals, it's 40-2. We've allowed 2 points and we scored 40.
That is domination.
That is dominant.
Yeah. They did not have a point scored on them until the second game of the super regionals. Nice. Am I right? Or was it the first game?
No, you're right.
We won 9-2 in the last game.
Yeah.
So that is just, phenomenal. And
it's that pitching, man.
Yeah. So, and then the fact, and I'm sure you're going to, we get into a little bit, but the last team to beat OU was Oregon back on April 19th up in Eugene.
Yeah, but it was in Oregon. They had flown all the rest of the day before. It was early, right? And
yeah,
you can make up 100 excuses, but we'll see what happens when they come down here.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Catch me outside.
Yeah.
and that's the only game that Oklahoma has lost since the beginning of March.
Right. And
which was
that one sole game.
That Boston game?
Yeah.
Where everybody had the flu?
Yeah.
Like even the bad boy had the flu?
Yeah. So, and they were undefeated in Big 12 play, including tournament play.
Yep.
And, this team, I mean, I think this on paper and record wise, I think this is the best team she's had there out of the last.
It's got to be close, man.
It's got to be close.
It's got to be close.
It's, I think, probably the most productive team.
Yeah.
Because, baseball, softball is a fickle thing. On any given day, anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah.
But as far as just sheer numbers and force, I think you're right.
And they're so precise. They know when to take a base. They know when to hold up. They know when to put the double steal on or the fake steal or whatever that is. I mean, they've got it down.
Yeah.
Yes, they do, and that's all coaching. That's all
absolutely.
That's all Patty Gasso.
Yeah. So hit us with some Sooner stats for the College World Series here.
All right. Well, we were just talking about Big 12 play. Of all the runs scored in Big 12 play this year, 21% of them were from Oklahoma.
So that's a lot, considering there's
there's what, six teams, six softball playing schools.
Yeah, so
almost a quarter of the runs came from Oklahoma.
That's crazy.
Well, yeah,
we talked a little about Jocelyn Allo earlier.
Yeah.
Jocelyn Allo would by herself rank 185th, so about midway in the team home runs per game rankings.
Yeah, and she's batting 400 in the postseason with 4 home runs as a freshman.
And they won't pitch to her. I mean, if they're smart, they won't pitch to her.
Well,
I wouldn't.
Pitch to her.
That Missouri home run that I was talking about, they weren't pitching to her. She reached out and scooped it off the outside corner. I mean, it was.
So here's what I would do. I would throw at her, try and hit her, and see if she'll charge the mound so we get it kicked out. That's what I would do. But I'm a little bit of a rebel, so.
Yeah, she was pulling the old Vlad Guerrero. You remember him? He used to just swing at everything,
Mm-hmm.
And the weird thing is, he'd bat over 300. They just swinging at things bouncing in the dirt.
Yeah,
pretty much everything.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's the commentators on that game were talking about that hit and just said that's how she has to hit because nobody's gonna. A mistake is throwing it down the middle, and
she's going to murder that one.
Yeah, and I said she just, in order to get the hit she does, she has to go after everything. And the cool thing is that, Gasso, Coach Gasso, Patty, whatever, 3 natty Patty, 4 natty Patty, whatever, she has faith in a freshman that she gives her that, that go ahead. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, if you can hit it.
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's a big. It's a big statement, like you said, for her to give that to a freshman.
Yeah.
That's a lot of so much power. If she just gets part of a ball, she can hit it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, hit us with another one.
So we talked about how Oklahoma leads the nation in a few stats. Here's some more that Oklahoma leads. Oklahoma leads in home runs per game.
Yeah.
They lead in overall runs per game. They lead in on-base percentage and slugging percentage. Oklahoma is just a offensive juggernaut.
Right.
I think they lead the runs per game stat by over a run.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
And like Rob just said, we have the best defense in the country.
Right.
Right.
I mean, we've committed 19 errors all season in 58 games. And we have 2 of the best pitchers in the country.
If not the 2 best.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what the SEC is going to say, right? We're paying our softball players.
Yeah. That's the only way you could get anybody to come to Oklahoma is to pay them.
I'm not against it, but
it's not happening. Yeah, it's crazy the numbers that they put up this year.
It's crazy.
Absolutely,
and,
it really is.
go back to, old Coach Pat Jones from Oklahoma State. He used to say, I don't care if you're playing against air, those are good numbers. I mean,
right.
Do you get the feeling though that the world is, or the softball world, whatever, is just waiting for us to lose, and then they're going to, yep, it's because they were in the Big 12. That's why they were so good.
It's. I was thinking that too.
Because
what do you think,
the ACC's got like 26 national champions, and the next one is a single digit or something.
I mean,
I mean, it's a, I don't know. It's one of my pet peeves is the whole, will you play in the Big 12?
Yeah.
As if the Big 12 is something to scoff at in any sport.
Right.
I mean, we had the best basketball conference last season. We have, maybe the best baseball conference in the country.
Yeah.
We have, as far as evenness throughout, probably one of the better football conferences even. I mean, and especially for, as many good teams as we have per the total number, right? I mean,
right.
We had probably 3 good teams last season, like good being like, maybe had a chance at doing something really special. SEC has the same number. They've got how many, 27 teams or something, right?
Yeah, and they had,
26 fan bases that cheer for Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia were their 3 teams. So,
right.
But I'm like, right, it just, maybe we're used to it in football so much that you just kind of sit back and are waiting to hear, if Oklahoma drops a game, well, the reason why it's the Big 12. Well, the reason why it's this.
Right.
Right.
And it's like you said, I think it's just a product of football.
Yeah.
You hear it every time you turn on the television. You hear it every time you tweet something, and some other fan base gets a hold of it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the first thing anybody ever says.
Yeah. So what else we got on our Sooners? Great stats.
Okay, well, we have shut out teams 28 times this season. We've only played 58 games. So we are one shutout away from having as many shutouts as non-shutouts.
Golly,
with a very real chance of having more.
Yeah,
when we finish this.
Yeah, you run through. We keep doing what we did in the regionals and super regionals. It's
listen. If those 2 pages are on, they're not hitting them.
Yeah, if the pages are on,
they're not hitting them.
So, yeah, it's crazy.
But there was a couple games where Paige Parker, even though she has the lowest ERA, I think, was not quite on, and she came out in like the first inning.
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't have those games, but
again, that's another thing about Patty is that she's not afraid. She knows if they've got it or not, almost immediate, and goes up, come on over, and none of them take it personal. You know what I mean? They it's like, she knows them better than they know themselves.
Right.
But okay, what else we got? So we're two shutouts away from,
from having more shutouts than non-shutouts. more games where we did not allow a run than games where we allowed a run. We allowed 71 runs this season total. We hit 80 home runs.
Okay, that's a ridiculous stat.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, when you can hit more home runs than total runs you allow on a season, you'll win a game or 2.
Yeah, that's nuts. What else?
I guess I will end on bragging on Patty Gasso a little bit.
Let's spend some time on Patty. She's coached at Oklahoma for, what did we say, 24 seasons? Right, from 1995, yeah.
She has never had a season in which her winning percentage was less than .652. Her worst season, she won 65% of her games.
Wow.
Think she's up for a raise?
Yeah, she should be.
She is. She has more wins. She has about 200 more wins than any other coach in the World Series of all the other coaches. She has 1,200 on her career.
1201.
Yeah, 1201 now.
1201.
Yeah,
Yes,
Friday was
1201.
Yeah, which is crazy that she hit 1,200 on last Thursday. I didn't realize that was happening.
I know that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. That is a lot of wins.
So you think
she hasn't?
Go ahead.
Well, what were you gonna say?
Does that lead you to believe that they're gonna take their third straight this year?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that's a pretty good indicator. I think she, at this point, her worst season is 652. I think she probably knows what she's doing.
She's got a clue about it.
And with the just raw talent and production that she has, I mean, you'd have to mess up pretty bad to stop doing what we're doing. But I think she, like you mentioned earlier, I think she knows the players probably more than they know themselves,
Right.
Because she's seen them. She's probably seen players just like the ones she has now throughout her career. Attitude-wise, you know how 24 years of coaching, you know how to recognize personalities, and you know how to deal with people,
Right,
and get the best out of them. And so, yeah, there's if there's one reason outside of just the crazy numbers to bet on Oklahoma, it's Patty Gasso for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so what else we got on Patty?
Well, let's see. She hasn't lost double-digit games in the last 4 seasons of her career. She's never lost or never won fewer than 40 games in a season. Her worst season, her fewest amount of wins was in 1998-99, and she won 40 games of 56.
Wow. 40 of 56.
Yes.
That's
Yes, that was the worst. That was, bottom of the barrel. Her rock bottom.
And a lot of teams would kill for that type of record.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean that's a 714 winning percentage.
Yeah. And the other thing I saw today too was looking at it is she's only lost 4 Big 12 games in the last 4 years. Undefeated this year.
Oh, wow.
Has lost 1 the last 2 seasons and lost 2 the season before that. So
yeah, that's pretty wild.
She's
because it's softball, baseball. Like I said, any given day, anybody can beat anybody else. I mean,
and these teams are pretty good.
You can, yeah, absolutely. I mean, baseball, softball is one of those games where you can be hitting the ball solid, hard, but right at people, right? Or you can hit dribblers that squeak through and win games 1-0.
Right.
I mean, it's just any given day is different, and to have that kind of consistency in a sport like softball is wild.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, all it takes, any number of these games that they won by 1 point, let's just say, like you said, it could be the bottom of the 7th, and there's a runner on base and a home run, makes it a loss. Just one swing of the bat could change it.
One swing.
Yeah, one lucky swing in a lot of cases,
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that they've held that off for this long, especially in the Big 12. And I don't care who's in. I don't care if you're playing in the Big 12, the SEC, or Class 3A high school. You hold teams to that, and your equivalent, your Division I schools. That's saying something, and it's phenomenal.
Man, they're good.
They're really good.
If they play like they're capable of playing, they're liable to run rule everyone.
Yeah,
I mean that would be
seriously.
That'd be amazing. They run ruled out of the tournament.
Yeah,
I mean, good grief.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And I understand next year the number one pitcher in the nation is coming in.
Yeah.
And I think the number one left fielder or something like that. I'm maybe off on that one, but
yeah,
it's going.
Oh yeah, I mean at this point, it's one of those things where people are just going to come play for
they just want
Patty.
Yeah,
I mean they're going to come to play for national championships and play for someone who's so established and has proven herself time and time again, right?
Yeah.
I mean that's the Saban effect, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it is.
It's the same thing.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing where you're going to go where people win. You're going to go where someone can sustain that.
Right.
I mean, you go somewhere else. I mean, even even Oklahoma and Bob Stoops wasn't as consistent, at least in the last 10 years or so, as Alabama.
Right.
I mean, that's just rock steady. And when you get that, that's when the best of the best just come rolling in.
Yeah, you don't call them; they call you.
Right? Exactly.
How do I become a part of this? So
recruiting becomes less of a hunt and more of a sifting through all the applications, right?
Yeah, we'll take you, not you. Yeah, we'll take you, not you.
Right.
Thanks for applying. Which would be a great position to be in. So,
absolutely.
What else? You got anything else on her you want to share?
That's all I've got prepared.
Okay.
We can go through, but I mean, she's like I said, she's kind of tapped in and made herself, I mean, the face of softball. I mean, everybody in the country knows who Patty Gasso is, and I mean, what percentage of the country
could tell you any other coach
avidly follows softball? Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
well,
this time of season, I always switch brands to Natty.
Yeah.
We do some Natties for Patty.
Natties for Patty.
like old Eddie on Twitter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, usually I drink Bush, so
no.
It's not much of a switch.
Yeah, I was going to say that's, I'm not, trying to, shoot you down or anything, man, but, that's, it's
here it comes.
I mean,
hey, sometimes I'll drink Coors, but that's payday beer, man.
Payday beer. Yeah, well, I'm pretty much all Budweiser and Rod throws in the salt and lime, so
Oh yeah, a little south of the border.
Yeah, little cervezas.
Hey, the Mexicans can make some beer. Okay, it's pretty good.
So, Rob, let's go through your bracket. Let's tell us what you got.
Well, I think it's really unimportant until you get to the last game, which has the word Oklahoma.
Well, hold on. Oh no, let's give us your final four. How about that? And
final four: Oklahoma versus Arizona State. I think that pitcher is going to take them. Well, they're going to take them up against the juggernaut. That is Oklahoma. Florida versus Oregon in the losers bracket. Florida's going to win that out, and then we're going to run real Florida in the championship game.
Oh, that best of 2 out of 3. That's what they do. Don't they do that in the? Yeah, it's.
Yeah, they do. They do 2 out of 3.
Yeah, which I love. I love that format.
So we may run rule them so bad the first game they may just say, you know what, just give it.
So isn't it 7 runs if you're above 7 runs?
It's 8 after 5.
Yeah, I
8
think
after
it's
5. So if we score, 32 runs in the first 4 innings,
they'll just add them all up. There you go.
They'll just go, stop. They won, 4 games in 4 innings. So.
Jocelyn Lowe has 4 home runs in the first inning.
But no, I mean it is.
But yeah, no, I like that pick, especially the Arizona State, because in softball, one pitcher could take you a long way.
Absolutely.
Those girls are workhorses.
Yeah,
they go out, sometimes 3-4 days in a row.
Yeah, and I was watching a deal. Oh, it's been years ago, but they were talking about how you can't do that with baseball. You can't pitch that much. Your arm will fly off.
There is a mandated
right.
Yeah, but the reason why softball can is because the underarm throw, the underarm pitch, is the natural pitch.
Right. It's the mechanics.
Yeah, that's how you're supposed to throw.
The mechanics of throwing a baseball is goofy.
Yeah, you're turning your rotator cuff the wrong way, your elbow, everything goes all out of whack, but yet the underarm pitch, like like softball does, is a natural arm movement. That's why the arm doesn't wear as much. So they can pitch game after game after game. And I've never stood in, a batter's box of a softball, fast pitch softball. So
oh boy, he comes in there. I'll tell you that much. My high school, I used to play baseball, and our high school was really good at softball. As a joke, a couple of us went in and stood in, we can. This is child's play, right?
Yeah.
So we get in there. We get in there, and we're like, they're only throwing it 50, 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But when the rubber is half as close, right? Half the distance.
Ooh, yeah. You need to back
up. And then the amount of English they can put on the ball, man. They can drop a curveball.
Oh yeah.
And slider feet, in that short of distance.
Well, yeah. I mean, the ball's bigger, more surface area. It weighs the same amount, and so you're basically, physics wise, that's you can put a lot of curve on that.
Yeah.
There are girls that throw not just sinkers and curves, but rise balls, and they're bending that thing directions that baseballs can't physically go.
Yeah. Yeah, but like you said, it's a bigger ball, bigger surface area, but it's also, half the distance, a shorter distance, and for them to put that much, movement on a ball is phenomenal. And I haven't been to a lot of softball games, OU softball games, but when you're there, you having it, watching it on TV doesn't do it justice, because you can see the ball move when you're watching it live, in person.
Right.
You can see it, drop. And it's phenomenal to watch those ladies, throw the ball, hit, run, turn a double play. Double play in softball to me is one of the greatest plays because it's a shorter distance.
There's like 4 steps in there.
And when you can turn,
you talk about quick.
Yeah, and it's impressive when they do that. Now, have you ever heard, Rob? I think we've talked about it before, but Blinkin, have you ever heard of the King and his court?
No, what's that?
Okay.
Google it on up.
Google it on up.
Okay.
It was a group of guys that traveled the country. They were kind of like a sideshow.
Was there 4 of them?
Yeah, there was a catcher, a pitcher, and an outfielder. There were 3 of them.
3 of them.
Okay. And they would come in and they would play teams, and people could come up and bat against them, and they never lost.
And they had to take auto outs every time. So you got 3 innings to their 1 or whatever it was,
And,
what?
Yeah, the guy, he was phenomenal. He could do it from second base and you couldn't touch him.
It was called and they did it until they were in their 60s. They were, and it was basically the same thing. They were a men's fast pitch softball team. They had a catcher, a pitcher, and an outfielder.
I thought there was also a first base.
There may have been. I can't remember. But I remember my dad. The guy would usually throw a no hitter, and after the game, they would let people in the stands, whoever wanted to come down and try to hit him. And my dad was proud that he hit him. He got a hit off of him. My dad bunted. Okay. So, he calls it a hit, but, come on, Dad, you bunted.
It's a hit.
You closed your eyes and stuck your bat out is what you did. But,
so I found this Wikipedia article, right?
Yeah.
So he's the king, right? Eddie Feiner, I guess is how you say it. And I'm looking through, I'm just scanning through this, and I see the sentence: in the game, Feiner struck out Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, Brooks Robinson, Roberto Clemente, Maury Wills, and Harmon Killebrew all in a row.
What a lineup that was.
Yeah, though.
Wow.
They were. I said it was kind of like I don't want to call it a sideshow, but it's really what it was. I mean, in communities like I grew up in McAllister, Rob, you grew up in.
Yeah, we didn't know what softball was.
But they would come to town, and it would be a big deal. I mean, it would be the front page of the paper. Hey, come see the king in his court, and da 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 da, and they would show up. I mean, people would show up and watch, but.
That is cool.
Yeah, so
that is cool. You learn some every day.
But back on our ladies and the Sooners.
Stay on topic.
Stay on topic. Yeah, we had somebody put on our Facebook account that we don't stay on topic. So. And
he called us mindless.
Yeah, so
you can say it about me all he wants, but Terry.
Yeah, you say we were. What was it? Mindless reminiscing. We don't stay on topic, and it's a lot of mindless reminiscing. But being that we're in the desert of football season, it's better than nothing. So I guess it was a compliment,
That's what I'm taking it as, mindless blathering. I've been called worse, buddy.
Yeah, but yet they also say criticism is the source of flattery or whatever. So at least he's listening.
At least they listened.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean,
yeah, that sounded flattering.
Yeah, but so we gotta stay on topic now. But back to the Sooners. I mean, I think I don't want to say without a doubt, but I mean they, in my opinion, they're underseeded, which is fine. That's bulletin board material.
Oh yeah, especially in a tournament style play.
Right.
I mean, if you're unless you're at the bottom of the bracket, if you're just floating underneath, you don't have to go up against any one seeds or anything, then that's almost an advantage. But and we talked about the motivation factor of it earlier.
Washington and Oregon are on our side of the bracket. For most of the season, they've been 1-2, I think, haven't they, Robin? Was that what you
most of the season?
So, hey,
UCLA's been up there. They kind of been
bouncing
those
around
three
up there,
kind of bouncing back.
But so we draw them out first. But I would love, and there's none of them coached better than the Sooners. Coach Gasso.
Definitely.
She knows her players better than anybody else out there on the field. I guarantee you, better than any of those other coaches. She has the experience. And I think the most impressive thing about her is I've never seen her rattled. I've never.
Oh, no, definitely. I mean, she is stoic. I mean, she's.
Even when
you're not going to get under her skin.
Yeah, even when she goes out to argue with, the ump, she walks out very calmly, puts her 2 cents worth in, and, and I think the respect is there of, okay, yes, ma'am, sorry, my bad. Patty, I can't reverse the call. So, but, I think going into this, anybody that's betting against Oklahoma is, taking a huge chance. And just what, seven straight Big 12, championships, 4 straight College World Series, I guess, the end of the tournament, because, the regionals and super regionals are part of the tournament, but they've made it back to Oklahoma City. I heard it talk about, home field advantage. I've never been to a College World Series game here, but everybody that I've talked to said there's no home field advantage. There is just as many fans there from all over the other schools as there is Oklahoma.
I would have to assume there's an Oklahoma fan advantage.
Yeah, but as far as they say that it's when you're there, if they're playing Oregon, there's just as many pea green and yellow shirts as
that's not very nice, Dave. That's not very nice at all.
As many duck hats. I don't know. So
what's your language?
No, I said duck, Rob. But
well, I mean, you got to think, people who really follow kind of I hate to call it a fringe sport, but it kind of is in college sports. The people who really follow it. Oh, yeah. So they're going to travel. And you got to think these stadiums only hold, 1,000, 1,200 people?
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma's is somewhere around there. And so it's not surprising at all that half the people in a stadium that size are, some other team. I mean, you can get 500 people to travel for a Division I softball championship easy, I would think.
Yeah. And, especially if, I know that the tickets they had, all events. So you can buy tickets to every single game. So, a big fan of whatever team could sit there and watch every single game or turn around and, like I would do, sell my tickets to somebody else. I'd watch Oklahoma play and then, go find a duck to sell mine to, or a husky. Hey, here you go. Here you can go watch your team play.
Yeah.
But and another thing is I noticed that there's no bad weather anticipated for this weekend.
That's amazing.
They've said there's always at least the last I think 4 years there's been a tornado.
I was going to say late May, early June. Yeah. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that there's been a tornado warning in the general vicinity of the games. So, and I think last year they had 7 touchdown on the opening day in Oklahoma. I was reading a deal like that. I was like, that's welcome to Oklahoma. Good Lord, tornadoes, earthquakes, and so. But anyway, but Blinkin, hey man, we appreciate you coming on again on short notice to help us out with giving the Sooners softball group a little love, and some, push to number 4 or number 3 in a row, which would be a huge feat. And
yes, it would.
And so we're looking forward to some good softball this weekend. But everybody, all you who have been requesting it, here is your softball show. Just for you guys, and we hope everybody enjoyed it. So, Boomer Rob,
Boomer Terry,
and Boomer Blinkin.
Over, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast. If you want to be on the podcast and talk Sooner football with us, go to www.soonerfootballfans.com. Click on the How to Be on the Podcast tab, fill out the form, and we'll get you on. Boomer.